Dear learners, welcome back to my channel. In this video, we are going to learn about the process which is done after extraction, transformation, and loading. So first of all, we'll revise what we have learned in the last session. We'll extract the data, transform the data, and load the data, and then we are going to go ahead for the next thing. So let's just open the Power BI desktop first, and let's load the data file that we have. Uh, Now, whenever you have this greeting screen and you know the data file, you can directly just click on the Excel workbook file, which is our data set, and you can navigate it to your folder where the data file at which your box you have downloaded. Just select the data file and click on open. So the data will be loaded to the navigator window, and first it will ask you what is there inside the data. So in the Excel file, we are having this customer table, the department table, LKP staff, order item, order, and product. So these are the things that we need to include except department because this department data is already existing in the staff data sheet. So if you look at the staff data sheet, the department and group name is already there. So we are going to load customer data. So we'll select customer, we'll select LKP staff, we'll select order items, we'll select orders, and then we'll select the product data. So three dimension table, which is customer one, then staff one, and product dimension, and two fact table that we are going to load. So the first thing we need to do is click on transform data. So the moment you click on transform data, it will load into your Power Query editor window. The first thing that you need to do is check out the data and data type for all the files. First of all, you have to give a sensible name because it's a dimension. You just give the name D underscore customer. Then we need to select the correct data type. Since customer ID is an identification and we are not going to perform any arithmetic operations, the data type will be text one. Similarly, store name is a text data and the data type is text. ABC refers to as this text. Similarly, you have account number, which is also a text variable, and address line 1, address line 2, city, and postal code, that is again a text. Then state, country code, country. Let's go to staff one. In staff table, let's give this name. First of all, let's just go for data and data type. So the first thing is, since it's a ID, it's a text data. Then national ID number, again, it's a text data because we are not going to perform arithmetic operation. Contact ID, this is also text. Then manager ID, this is also text data type. Then title, it is text data and data type is also text. Then date of birth, it is in date format and the format is also data type is also date format. You can just also alternatively check on the data at the top. Then marital status, it is in text data type is text, gender is also text data type, vacation hours, sick leave hours, it's a whole number because it's a entire day or sorry entire hours that is there, right? So it may be 1 2 3, so it's a whole number. The department data type should be text, but here we need to filter our data. Why we need to filter our data? Because we have been given only salesperson ID, so we need to include only the salesperson into our analysis. So I do not want all the employees, I just want only sales employee. Then I'm going to go for grouping. It's a text data, so data type should be text. Then rate, that is basically wages that are being given. So this is a currency one, so we can just go and choose fixed decimal. Fixed decimal refers to as the currency format, which is of 2 decimal. Then first name, which is a text variable, and this is also in the text. And last name is also text variable. Email is also text, and phone number is also text variable because we are not going to perform any arithmetic operation. Let's just give this query name. It's a sales staff. Okay. Now let's go to order item. So this is a list of items that are there inside the order. Okay. So let's go for sales order ID. Sales order ID is a text variable. Then sales order detail ID. This is also text variable. Since we are not going to perform arithmetic operation, courier tracking number is a text data type. Order quantity, it's a whole number, right? Then product ID, this will be a text data type. Then special offer ID. So wherever the word identification ID is there, they are basically text data we need to convert it. Then unit price. Unit price is in terms of currency, so we need to select fixed decimal. Then unit price discount, that is again a fixed decimal one. And line total, that is also a fixed decimal one. And this is our revenue basically that we have to we will see how to create measure it from the line total. And let's give this query a sensible name f underscore items. Since this is a list of items that are there. Now let's go to order. In the order we have sales order ID. So let's click on text. Then order date should be in the date format. Due date, shipping date should be in the date format. Sales order should be there in the text. Purchase order should be in the text. Account number should be in the text. Customer ID, it should be in the text data type. Then again, salesperson ID, it should be in the text data type. Then we have something known as subtotal. Now, subtotal is also in the fixed decimal because this is also a revenue that is basically fixed decimal currency format. Freight is also a currency one, so fixed decimal number. And total due, that is also fixed decimal number, that's a currency one, right? And because these are fact, because revenue is getting captured, we'll give this name fact table. So we can just write down f underscore orders. Then let's go to a product dimension. In product, the first one is product ID, which is a text data. Then name, it's a text, product name, then product number, again it's a text data type. Make flag is used for identification. So it's a text data. Then color, it's a text data and data type is also text. Then safety stock level, there is whole number because we need to maintain stock. Reorder point, again it's a whole number. Standard cost, cost as of now it is a written decimal number, but it should be fixed decimal number because it's a currency one. Then list price, again it's a uh, fixed decimal one because it's a currency one. Then size, ABC123 refers to the general format, but it should be in the text. Then size unit should be text, weight unit should be text, then weight should be continuous one. So this is correct. If you see decimal number, weight is always a continuous variable. Then days manufacture, it's a whole number. Then product model, it's a text data. Data type is also text. Subcategory, it's a text data type. Category, it's a text data type. And product line is also text data type. Class, style, these are both text data type. Category ID. Now this ID is a number data, but the data type should be text because we are not going to perform arithmetic operation. Then sell date and discontinuation date should be there in the date format. Okay, and let's give this query name D underscore product. D refers to its dimension and F refers to its fact. Okay. So now our data, we whatever transformation data type we need to decide it that we have done it, right? Let's click on close and apply to make sure the data is loaded into our data model. So the moment the data gets loaded into our data model, the first thing that we need to check out is whether the relationships are created in the data model or not. So we'll see all the queries that are getting fetched from the original file. We'll see a data list over here as well as on the table view also you will see it. The second pane is all about table. So you will see it, customer data which is loaded, product data which is loaded, the sales data which is loaded, and we have something known as item list, and this is our main heart of the data, that is order sheet. Okay, now if we go to the data model view, a lot of relationship will automatically be created based on the header name, that is basically field list name. So this is the general notation that we follow, that all the dimension table should be kept at the top and your fact table should be kept at the bottom. And you need to make sure that all your relationship flows from one to many. Okay, in business we need to create one to many relationship, and relationship must flow from dimension to fact. Even if it's from fact to fact, we need to make sure that the dimension table does not get affected by many to many relationship. Okay, so even if we have many to many relationship, we can just resize this table as per our requirement. Okay, can just rearrange it. Fine. Now we need, there are some relationship which are automatically created. If you see, we have this customer ID. That's a correct link that system has detected. And if you see the sales staff, which is not detected because, so here we need to identify which is the primary key. So if you see employee ID, and here we have something known as salesperson ID, right? Here we have employee ID, but we have filtered the data by sales staff. So as of now, this employee ID is the salesperson ID only. So we need to create manual relationship by just dragging and dropping into the salesperson ID, right? So whenever your relationship diagram is open, so you will see employee ID and salesperson ID that is selected in green, and you will see one to many. Asterisk refers to as the many. Okay, so and we have to make sure that this is tick mark, right? And this relationship will be detected automatically from the data set itself. Let's click on save. So you'll see a arrow which is suggesting from employee to ID, one to many relationships is created. Similarly, from fact to item list, one to many is created, and from product ID, if you see product ID is a primary key which is joining these two data tables, item list and product list. So now every tables in my data sets are joined by primary key. So here we have just to finish our data modeling related to customer dimension, employee dimension, product dimension, and the fact, two fact tables that we are having it. Now, one of the most important dimension that we need to consider is called the time dimension, right? So for time, we need to create the calendar. Now, what is this calendar? So basically, we need to create a calendar based on the data which is given, or the date actually which is recorded in our fact order list. So if we go to the table view, we'll have something known as order item, and here we have something known as order date. Now see this order date, you will see that the orders are placed on particular date on which the order is getting placed. It is not in the serial order, right? So here, if you see the first order like 43667, it is placed on 7th of July 2017. The next order is placed on 11th of July 2017. Now, why we need calendar? Because calendar will have a consecutive dates, and these are very important for time intelligence calculation. Whenever we are doing any intelligence function, particularly time intelligence function, when we are going to use it, we require consecutive dates, right? So if we want to compare month on month changes, or year on year changes, or quarter on quarter changes, so we require consecutive dates, and that's why we need to have a calendar inside our model. So as of now, you will see there are no calendar that is there. So actually we need to create it. So in this video, we are going to learn how to create a calendar table using DAX expression, right? So let's go to the table view first of all. And here we need to click on, if you go into the table tools, you will see something known as new table. Now see here, we are creating a new table. So these are tables. See, customer is a table, product is a table, and these are the field list. Okay, dimension that are field list or variables, or it is also known as header, right? So if you see in the order, we have this thing. Now we are going to create a new table, and the table name that I will give is, if you see here over here, a table is created, and we have to give a table name called calendar. I'll just give this name calendar, the name of the table. Now actually I have to create calendar, right? So for creating calendar, there is a function called calendar and calendar auto. Now calendar auto will automatically select the date based on your data set, and calendar function will give you some autonomy. Okay, so if you want some customized date, then you are always going to use calendar function. So let me just use this function called calendar. Now see, this is a DAX expression, right? In Power BI, the language that is being used is known as a DAX. This is a data analysis expression language. So the function that you are able to see calendar, it's a DAX function, right? So what it is going to do, it is going to generate a calendar based on start date and end date. Now, if you see, we need to supply over here two arguments. The first one is start date and the second one is end date. Now, see, whenever we have to supply the date, date should be given in the date format. So there is a function which is called as a date, which we used it to generate date. Now, as of now, if you see in our data set, we have a column called order date in the order list. So what we are going to do is we are going to generate a dynamic calendar from the date variable. So see what I'm doing it because I want start date and date should be in the date format. So I'll write down a function called date. So if you see f of x, so that's a function of x. Okay. Now this function again, it is a DAX expression. So I'm generating what? Date. So in date, you have to give three arguments. The first one is year, the second one is month, and third one is day. Now for year argument, I want year. Now I can directly write down the year if I am knowing it. But since I want to make a dynamic calendar, dynamic means automatically from my data set, it should fetch the year. So what I'm going to use is I'm going to fetch year from my date column, order date column from the order list. So I'm using a function called year. Now I have to supply date over here. Now date is already there in my order list. So I'll just write down order list. Huh. Before that, because it's a start date, I'm going to use another function called min. Now min is a function which is going to calculate minimum. Now see what I'm doing is from my entire order date, I am first of all finding out the minimum date. So I'll just explain you the expression which are there. In the orders list, there is a column known as order date. So from the order date, I am going to find out the minimum of order date, right? And from that date, I am fetching year. Okay, so that is my first argument in the date variable. And the second argument is I have to give month. Now for the minimum month in any calendar will start from first. First refers to the January. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to create dynamic calendar. So first I'm fetching minimum year from the order date and then I'm going to supply month as a January and the day also as a first. So my calendar will start from 1st of January, minimum year from the order date, right? Because I want to make a dynamic calendar, which is generated automatically from my data set, I'm using a function called minimum and I'm finding out the minimum date. In date, from the that date, I am fetching out year and that year I am putting inside the date function. So I am giving year dynamically that should be fetched from the order date and the month should start from January and the day should be first. Now I have to supply end date. For end date also we'll use the same logic. Because it should be in the date format, I am going to use a function called date. Now for year, because it's an end date, I have to calculate maximum of order date, right? So for year, I am using a function called year to fetch year from the date. Year is a function which is going to fetch year from date. Now, the date should be the highest one because from the highest date, if I fetch the year, so it will tell me the highest year that is available in my data set. So I'm going to use a function called max, right? And I'm going to give this order date variable. So from now, try to understand the earlier from the order table, from the order date column, you find out the maximum. So it will fetch the maximum of order date. Then from the date, it is going to fetch the year. So that year will be used as a first argument in my date function. And what is my last month of that particularly year? So it will be December. Okay, the calendar will always end in the December and the last day will be 31st. Okay, so I'll close the bracket for the date function and I'll close the bracket for the calendar function. So this is an entirely dynamic calendar which I'm going to create. Just press enter and you will see all the dates will be automatically generated from the data set. Okay, so now try to understand this argument. I'm just explaining you this argument again. In calendar, for generating a calendar, I'm using a function called calendar and I have to supply two things. One is the start date. So start date is, I want to make it dynamic. So I want to give, I'm using a date function which will generate date. Now inside that I'm using a function called year because I want to fetch year from the date, and since it's a start date I want list. So for list we have a function called minimum of order date. Now order date is there in the order table. So from the fact order table, from the order date column, you find out the minimum date, and from that date you fetch the year. So that will be my minimum year, and the month should start from first, that is January, and the day should be 1. So this becomes my start date. Similarly, this is my end date. Now, what is my end date? So end date, I want to take order table. From the fact order table, go into the order date variable, field list, calculate the maximum. So this maximum will calculate the highest order date. From that date, it is going to fetch year. So that year will be used as a year function into my date variable, and the last month for that particular year will be December. So it is 12 and the last day will be 31st. So I hope you have understood the argument, right? So this is a DAX first function, that is calendar, that we have created. Now the first thing after generating a calendar is we need to make sure that this date column should be marked as a date table, right? So just select on the date. Let's go to table tools and you will see a function called marked as a date table. Now this is a very special command that we need to use it because this table, I want system to know that this table should be used for time intelligence calculation. So let's click on marked as a date table. You will be asked, and there's a button of mark of on and off. So you have to click on. Marked as a date table, click on, then choose a date column. And here it should be written validated successfully, right? The moment you see this thing, click on save. Remember, whenever you generate a date column, the first thing that you need to do is you need to mark this date as a date table. Until and unless you don't mark it, system will not be able to understand that this is the dates that you have to use in your time intelligence calculation. Okay. Now, the first thing, if you see, the dates are generated in date time format. So if you see day, month, year, hours, minutes and seconds. So if you see hours, minutes and seconds are all 000, right? So we don't need the time as of now. So let's click on date, go to column tools, and from the format I just want only short date. Why? Because there is no meaning of time as of now. Now, to generate a calendar, the first thing that we want into our data set, that is year. So now let's create a new column. Now this time we are going to add new column. Why? Because I want to fetch the different variables from this date column. So let's click on new column. The first thing that I want to do is I want to fetch year. Okay, so I'm giving the name of the column, that is year, and the expression will start with is equals to sign. The function is known as year. Now I want to fetch year from the date. Now, which is my date? So this is basically the date that we have generated from the calendar table as of now. So you will see a calendar. This is the name of the table which is there. And inside this table, if you see calendar, which is name, and this is the date. If you see the icon is changed over here, date. So this icon represents what you have marked. This is a date table. So in the calendar table, all the dates are there. I want from this date you fetch the year and name the column year. Press enter. So what will happen? Year will be fetched from the date column, right? So if you see over here, this is my calendar table. Inside that I'm having this date variable and I'm having another column called year, which is a calculated one, right? From the date. Similarly, I want to fetch month. So let's click on new column again, and I want to fetch month. So there's a function called month, but from month function, it is going to fetch month number. So I am giving the column name month number, and the DAX function that I'm going to use is month. Now month is a function which is used to fetch month number from the date variable. So from the date variable, I'm going to fetch month. So the date variable is there in the calendar table and date column. So I'll choose that calendar table, the date variable, and I'll close the bracket and I'll fetch month number. So you'll see month number is getting fetched from the date variable. Now along with that, I want name of the month also. Now to get the name of the month, we'll again create a new column and we'll name something known as month. Now, there is a function called format. Now, in Excel, there is a function called a text, which is going to fetch the name of the month from the date variable. Similarly, in the DAX library, we have a function called format. So, format is a function by which we are fetching the text value from a date variable, right? So, value I have to supply, that is my calendar date. So, basically, I'm saying calendar date is my value that I want to format. The second is formatting that I want to do it. Now, because I want the name of the month, so I have to write down M. Now, if I want abbreviated name, then I have to write down 3 times small m, right? And because m is a text variable, we need to write down in double quotes. So open double quotes, m, and close double quotes and close the bracket. So if you see, what is this function? Format is going to fetch the text that is there from the date variable. And since I want month, I'll abbreviate by MMM. Let's press enter. So you will see the name JAN. Because it's an abbreviated one, I have used 3 times M. If you type 4 times M, then it will give you the entire name of the month, right? So you will see the name February, March, April, entire name of the month is there. And if you use 3 letters M, then it is going to use abbreviated name, right? Like JANFEFEW, right? So this is an abbreviated name which is being used. Now, once you generate this month, it is very important to understand that this table, right? This is a calendar table, and we need to make sure that this month, now try to understand first thing, the date is in the date variable, year is then in the numbered data type. So if you see the data type is numbered, actually it should not be number. The data type of year should be what? It should be text actually, because we are not going to perform any arithmetic operation anytime. But since we are going to calculate something, that's why we are keeping it in the whole number. Similarly, month is also, the data type of the month is whole number. And actually it should be text because we are not going to sum the month number anytime, but we are going to perform some operations, mathematical operations, and that's why we are keeping it in the whole number. And similarly, month is there in the text data type. Now, this is very important. So, whenever you have a text data type in your variable, and whenever you put it inside a column, automatically it will sort as an alphabetical thing. So that we'll see it in the later. So this is the calendar table that I have generated. Now, the most important thing is whenever you generate a calendar table, you need to make sure that this data table is connected with the other data set in your data. So for that, we need to go to the model view. If we go to the model view, you will see a new table that is created, which is hidden over here if you see. Okay, so this is my calendar table which I have generated. But if you see, there are no relationship that are as of now it is created. Right, this is my time dimension. Calendar is one of my time dimension. So here we need to create relationship. Now, how we are going to create relationship? So if you see closely over here, you see in the order list, we have something known as order date. Order date is one of the important variable that is telling you on which date order has been placed. right? And that order date is not actually consecutive. But here we have some consecutive dates in the calendar that we have generated it. So what we are going to do is we are going to link my date with the order date. Why? Because here calendar is having a consecutive dates. And in order date, we don't have consecutive dates. We have the dates on which the order is getting placed. So we need to create relationship of date with the order date. So how we are going to create? Just hold it, drag it, and go on to the top of order date and just release it. So you will see a new relationship table will be opened, and you will see the calendar table will be selected, and order table will be there, and date will be selected with the green, and order date will be selected with the green, and you will see cardinality one to many, that is a relationship that is created. Okay, just click on save. So what will happen? You will see one to many relationship is being created. If you just hover over your mouse over the line, you will see date is connected with the date. Now you see my entire data table is getting connected. Let me just arrange it. Now if you see all my tables are connected, right? So I have time dimension, I have customer dimension, I have sales employee dimension, I have product dimension, and I have order list, and then I have items list. Okay. So entire data modeling is being done into over here, right? So this is all about creating a DAX calendar into the Power BI data model, where we have created a calendar using a DAX function called calendar, right? And we have generated a dynamic calendar from my order date. And from the order date, I have generated year. From the year, I have generated month number. From month number, and along with that I have generated the name of the month, and finally I have created a data modeling. I have generated a relationship. I have created a relationship between calendar and order. Okay, so this by this actually we create a DAX calendar, and we have created relationship between all the data tables. So whenever we want to perform any calculation related to date time, so we require these calendars to be used in our data model. Okay, so I hope you have got the idea of how to create calendar using DAX function into the table view. If you have any query regarding the creation of table, then definitely, or calendar table, then definitely you can comment into the section below, and I'll definitely answer you. I hope you have enjoyed it, and see you in the next video. Thank you.